Asterisk the kitchen smelled of cinnamon and morning coffee. Emma Carter stood barefoot on the cool tile floor, swirling milk into her cup as the sun crept through the blinds. It was Friday, the kind that began with deceptive calm. Asterisk Ryan, her husband of 12 years, breezed in, suit jacket folded over his arm, phone pressed to his ear. He mouthed something, meeting ran long, and kissed the air near her cheek before grabbing his travel mug. Emma blinked slowly, lips parted to ask him something, but the door had already clicked shut. Asterisk she watched the driveway through the window as he pulled out in his navy SUV, her fingers tightening around the warm ceramic. He hadn't looked at her. Not really. Not in weeks. Asterisk, still going to the conference, a voice behind her said, casual and sleepy. Asterisk Emma turned. Her younger brother, Jake, shuffled in, hoodie half-zipped, hair a tousled mess. At 17, he was already taller than Ryan and somehow more present. She smiled faintly. Asterisk apparently, she said, sipping the coffee. He'll be gone until Monday. Asterisk Jake dropped into a chair and opened a granola bar. You sure you don't mind me staying here? Mom and Dad were weird about leaving me alone all weekend. Asterisk I'm glad you're here, Emma said. And she meant it. Jake's visit, though last minute, felt like a strange sort of relief. A pause button on her otherwise static routine. Asterisk they talked over breakfast, nothing heavy. School, college plans, her garden, the weird raccoon that kept digging in the trash. She almost forgot the hollowness until Jake leaned forward, brow furrowed. Asterisk everything okay with you and Ryan? Asterisk Emma paused. Why do you ask? Asterisk Jake shrugged. He just seems kind of checked out. Didn't even say hi last night. Asterisk Emma glanced at the sink, watching water swirl down the drain. We've been busy. He's been working a lot. Asterisk Jake didn't push. But the question lingered like humidity in the air. Asterisk later that afternoon, Emma was folding laundry on the couch when her phone buzzed. A text from Ryan. Asterisk made it to Portland. Don't wait up. Might have a client dinner. Asterisk she stared at the screen, her thumb hovering. No love you, no miss you already. Just logistics. Asterisk that night, rain fell softly against the windows. Jake was upstairs gaming. Emma wandered into the living room, poured herself a glass of red wine, and sank into the couch, the silence thick around her. She flicked through the TV channels aimlessly before settling on an old rom-com, the kind she and Ryan used to watch with pizza on their laps and her feet in his. Asterisk but now she was alone. Again. Asterisk a while later, Jake came down for a soda. He paused when he saw her curled up under a throw blanket. Asterisk you okay? He asked. Asterisk Emma laughed dryly. I'm crying during a Jennifer Aniston movie. What do you think? Asterisk Jake walked over and sat on the floor near her feet. Wanna talk about it? Asterisk Emma hesitated. Not really. Asterisk he didn't press. Just sat there quietly, sipping his drink, the glow of the television casting soft shadows across the room. Asterisk I used to think being married meant feeling safe, she said finally. Like, even if everything else fell apart, that one person would still be there. Asterisk Jake looked up. You don't feel that anymore? Asterisk Emma didn't answer. Her eyes drifted to the end table. Ryan's tablet rested there, charging. She picked it up, almost without thinking, swiping it open. No passcode. Asterisk a message preview lit up the screen. Asterisk Amy, Pilates. Can't wait to see you again. Last night was magic. Kiss marked. The room seemed to still. Emma stared at the words, her heart thudding in her chest. Her breath came shallow. Hands trembling. Asterisk Jake noticed. Asterisk she turned the screen toward him wordlessly. His face darkened. Asterisk who's Amy? He asked. Asterisk Emma's voice was a whisper. Not anyone I know. Asterisk the rain kept falling outside, soft and steady, like the sound of something breaking slowly, not in a crash, but in a quiet, irreversible way. Asterisk Jake stood up. You want me to delete it? Asterisk Emma shook her head. No. I want to remember exactly how it felt to read it. Asterisk she set the tablet down carefully, like it was something fragile, and looked up at her brother. Her eyes weren't angry. Not yet. Just tired. Asterisk Jake sat beside her on the couch. You're not alone, Em. She leaned into him slightly, grateful for the warmth, the silence, and the one person who had always looked at her like she mattered. The house felt colder the next morning, even with sunlight pushing through the curtains. Emma stood at the sink, her coffee untouched, hands wrapped tightly around the mug. The text from Amy, Pilates, echoed in her thoughts, branding itself into every breath. Asterisk Jake shuffled in, still wearing the same hoodie from last night. You sleep? He asked, cautiously. Asterisk Emma didn't look up. Barely. Asterisk he nodded, stepping toward the pantry, giving her space. But space wasn't what she needed answers. And none of them were coming from Ryan. Asterisk she took a long breath and tapped Ryan's name on her phone. It rang twice. Asterisk, hey babe, came his voice, too casual, too cheerful. How's the weekend starting? Asterisk, she tried to keep her tone even. Fine. Jake and I are making pancakes. Asterisk, nice, Ryan said. Tell him not to burn them this time. Asterisk, I saw a message last night, she said, slicing through the small talk. From Amy. There was a long pause, then, laughter. Forced. Amy? You mean from the gym? She sends dumb motivational stuff. That's how she is. Asterisk, Emma closed her eyes. She said last night was magic. Asterisk, another pause. Longer asterisk, that must have been sent by mistake, Ryan replied, his voice clipped now. You're overthinking. Look, I'm walking into a meeting. We'll talk later. Asterisk, and just like that, he was gone. Again, asterisk, she set her phone down, her hands suddenly feeling too heavy. Jake leaned against the wall, arms folded. Asterisk, he's lying, isn't he? Asterisk, Emma nodded. So easily. Like he's had practice. Asterisk, they didn't talk about it for the rest of the morning. Instead, they made pancakes. Jake managed to flip one. Without splattering the ceiling, and Emma forced a smile, grateful for the distraction. Asterisk, but distraction wasn't enough. Not when you felt your life slowly dissolving in front of you. Asterisk, by late afternoon, the house was quiet again. Emma sat at the dining table, scrolling through old photos on her phone. She stopped on one, her and Ryan in Hawaii 2 years ago, both smiling at the camera. Back when things felt real. Asterisk, Jake walked in, holding 2 glasses of soda. He placed one in front of her. You know, he began, when Claire cheated on me, I thought I'd never trust anyone again. Asterisk, Emma raised an eyebrow. Claire? Your ex? Asterisk, he nodded. Caught her kissing someone at a party. She said it didn't mean anything. Funny how people say that after they've already torn you open. Asterisk, Emma's throat tightened. I used to think Ryan was incapable of something like this. Asterisk, Jake sat beside her. You think he still loves you? Asterisk, she hesitated. I think he loves the idea of me. The convenience. The safety. But not me. Asterisk, there was a long silence between them. The kind that speaks louder than words. Jake stared ahead, his jaw clenched. Asterisk, I hate seeing you like this, he said quietly. Asterisk, Emma looked at him. Not as her little brother, but as someone who saw her, not the wife, not the homemaker, just her. Asterisk, it's like I've been living underwater, she said. And now I've come up for air, and everything feels too bright. Asterisk, Jake nodded, eyes meeting hers. You don't deserve to drown. Asterisk, there was a softness in the way he said it, almost reverent. Emma looked away, heart thudding too loudly in her chest. The line between comfort and something else was thinning. Dangerous. Asterisk, Jake, she began. Asterisk, I know, he said. I'm not saying anything should happen. I'm just saying, you're not invisible. Asterisk, Emma stood up, needing motion, needing air. I'm going to shower. Asterisk, in the bathroom, the steam fogged the mirror quickly. She stared at her reflection, traced the shadows under her eyes. Was this what betrayal looked like? Not in dramatic confrontations or shouted accusations, but in the quiet moments where everything good started to feel unrecognizable. Asterisk, she dried off slowly, wrapped in her robe, and padded into her bedroom. Ryan's scent still lingered on the pillow. She pulled the sheets tighter. Asterisk, a half hour later, as she stepped out of the room, she saw Jake standing at the end of the hall. His hand brushed the wall lightly, like he was debating whether to knock. Asterisk, their eyes met. Asterisk, you okay? He asked. Asterisk, Emma nodded, but the expression didn't reach her eyes. I just feel like I'm unraveling. Asterisk, Jake stepped closer but stopped himself. I'm here. You don't have to go through this alone. Asterisk, she wanted to say thank you. She wanted to scream. She wanted to cry and collapse and be held, but she did none of it. Instead, she turned back toward the stairs. Asterisk, let's watch something, she said. Something funny? And with that, she descended, leaving her brother standing silently behind her, watching her carefully, protectively, but with something else in his gaze that neither of them dared name. Asterisk, Sunday arrived cloaked in gray clouds and stillness. The house, though quiet, pulsed with something unspoken, a steady current of tension beneath every movement. Emma stood in the living room, folding a blanket with more precision than necessary. Her fingers worked, but her mind wandered. Asterisk, 2 nights of emotional exhaustion had left her raw. Her husband's infidelity no longer felt like a question. It was fact, ugly, sharp-edged, and sitting heavy in her chest. But what weighed even more was the warmth she'd started to feel in the least expected place. Asterisk, Jake entered the room. His voice gentle. You didn't come down for breakfast. Asterisk, Emma looked up. Wasn't hungry. Asterisk, he studied her, then held up a bowl of fruit and granola. Made it anyway. You need something. Asterisk, Emma gave a half smile and accepted the bowl. Thanks. Asterisk, they sat on the couch, the space between them deliberate. Last night's closeness, however subtle, had settled like fog. Neither had mentioned it, but both had felt it. Still, nothing had happened. Not really. Yet the way Jake looked at her had changed. And the way she let herself be seen by him had changed, too. As she took a bite, her phone vibrated beside her. Ryan. Jake saw the name on the screen. You going to answer? Emma hesitated, then tapped to answer on speaker. Hey. Hey, babe, Ryan said, his voice too light. Just finishing up the last session. I might be home a bit earlier than expected. Around 6. Emma's jaw tensed. Fine. A pause. You okay? Ryan asked. No, she said simply. But I guess we'll talk when you get home. Ryan exhaled. You know I love you, right? Whatever this is, it's just a bump. She nearly laughed. A bump? Let's not do this on the phone, he said. I'll explain everything. The call ended, and the silence in the room was deafening. Emma set the phone down, her eyes wet but not yet crying. He still thinks he can fix this, she whispered. Jake looked over. What are you going to do? I don't know. Jake leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. Can I say something without it being weird? Emma glanced at him, surprised. Go ahead. I think you forgot how much you matter. Not just to Ryan, or anyone else, to yourself. She looked away. I've seen you these past 2 days, Jake continued. Struggling. Trying to be composed. But you don't have to carry it all alone. His voice held something deeper now, not romantic, not inappropriate, but sincere. Protective. Honest. She nodded slowly. You've been the only real thing this weekend. Jake smiled faintly. Guess I grew up a little. They sat in silence for a moment, the fruit bowl forgotten between them. Later that afternoon, Emma sat alone in her bedroom, the rain beginning to fall again. She scrolled through Ryan's synced photo album. Something she'd forgotten was connected to her cloud. She tapped into the most recent folder. Her thumb froze. A photo taken just 2 nights ago. Ryan's arm wrapped around a woman's waist in a cozy mountain cabin. Not a conference room. Not a hotel lobby. Her name was Amy, visible from the corner of a personalized mug on the kitchen counter behind them. She let the phone drop onto the bed. Every excuse he'd given, every moment of doubt she'd tried to swallow, they collapsed under the weight of this undeniable truth. She rose, walked to the mirror, and stared at herself. Pale, tired, but alive. Something inside her hardened, not anger, but clarity. She couldn't change what had happened, but she could choose how to respond. At exactly 5:58 p.m., she heard the familiar sound of Ryan's SUV in the driveway. He entered the house with a forced grin, suitcase in one hand. Hey, honey. Missed. She cut him off with a single glance. Put your bag down, she said calmly. We're going to talk. Jake stood by the staircase, watching, silent. Emma held up the phone, displaying the photo. Do not lie to me again. Ryan's face paled. Emma, you left me here with my little brother while you played house with someone else. He stammered, trying to assemble a sentence, but she shook her head. I'm not angry, she said. I'm just done. She turned and walked away. Past the kitchen. Past Jake. Into the backyard where the air felt freer. Moments later, Jake followed. He sat beside her on the porch steps, not saying anything. She finally spoke, voice low. I don't know what happens now. Jake looked ahead. You figure it out. One day at a time. She leaned her head on his shoulder, and he let her. There was no need to say more.